Hello everyone and welcome back. After 6 months we are finally here. This is the second and final series of the grand finals between Tree of Arbor and Indypride. We are here at Rice Fields. Indypride chose the map in the wintertime. He is in blue as the Hojo right here, bringing his standard setup of 5 Katana Samurai, a Katana Hero, couple Naginata Monks in the back, a Yari Ashigaru front line, and 4 Spear Cavalry, including 2 Great Guard. Over here, Tree of Arbor in the red as the Mori, bringing his standard setup, the Yari Ashigaru Spear Wall. It's been a very fearsome sort of army in this tournament. We didn't see it at all in the last round, or the last series that they played, that Indypride, of course, wanted to keep his hopes alive, but we're going to see it now. That is a lot of Yari Ashigaru. It looks like there's 8 of them, or 8 to 10 by my count, along with the Yari Hero, a couple Bow Ashigaru, and Naginata Monks. No cavalry that we can see at the moment, but some might come out of the trees. But that's a lot of Koku to be spending on the Yari Ashigaru, as they're all 9 Chevron Elite Spear Wall up here in the front for Tree of Arbor. And he's making a move right for sort of the middle of the map. Looks like he wants to use the 2 buildings here to sort of cover his flanks and sort of camp this one out. Indypride chose Rice Fields. Not the kind of map he usually chooses, these sort of flat, really competitive style maps, but he chose it this time, and it's a pretty good... actually, you know, it's sort of a bad setup for the Yari Ashigaru Spear Wall because it leaves more room to maneuver. But it looks like he's found a nice little spot here between these 2 buildings. It'll help keep his flanks secure at least a little bit from the cavalry attack and the infantry attack as well. The infantry's going to have to go head on into this, basically. And the Bow Ashigaru, they're not very powerful, but they'll be powerful enough to rip through Yari Ashigaru, as they're doing right now. Down to 131 men in that unit already. So Indypride's under a lot of pressure here. Tree of Arbor can basically sit back and let Indypride come to him. It's going to be up to Indypride to crack this nut, which no one's really been able to do in this entire tournament. Nobody's ever beaten this spear wall when he's used it in a whole series. So it'll be very interesting to see what Indypride tries to do here. Yari Ashigaru is sort of not committing yet, maybe just moving around, trying to get Tree out of position a little bit, because the spear wall is mostly facing in one direction. So Indypride, very good for him to try and just attack from as many angles as he can and try and just find even the smallest hole here that he can get his troops through. Either hit the general or at least the spear wall up in front. And maybe cause some morale shocks. The rally's already been popped right here for Tree of Arbor, so it looks like Indypride's going to start committing here soon. The Yari Ashigaru are in spear wall and will be meeting head on with trees, but trees will be able to clean this up fairly easily. We already see some wavering here into the Yari Ashigaru, and they are far away from the general, so no surprise there. And Indypride taking an attack route directly on the side here. Pretty good angle of attack, actually, on the side, because it'll force the Yari Ashigaru, who can't move very fast in spear wall, of course, to sort of get all clumped up, and that's exactly how you want them to be. They're clumped up and rather narrow. It makes it very easy for your cavalry to come in and make some big attacks, which looks like he's going to try and do. Splitting up the Great Guard, no, bringing them back together maybe. Just maybe trying to draw Tree out of position. What we see here, actually quite a bit of wavering. This could actually work against Tree bringing the Bow Ashigaru. If they end up routing it, it could cause some morale shocks to his own troops. Katana Samurai have just a really great angle of attack. Actually attacking these spear walls from the side with these long formations is very good, because you can just sort of plow through them and cause a chain route, and it's very hard to reposition yourself when you have to go all the way like a 90-degree turn when someone attacks you directly on the side. And of course, usually people panic and just sort of collapse in instead of taking the time to reposition themselves and turn their whole line to spread out even more on the other side. But we see mass wavering here, and Indypride's attack is going very well, just using his troops to open up these little holes here. None of his cavalry have been able to penetrate yet, and the general, of course, is still safe right there, but there is some morale damage being done here. The Yari Ashigaru up in the front for Indypride have survived, and Tree of Arbor's line is completely out of order now, so he's very, very vulnerable at this point. As you can see from the mass wavering, unfortunately, even at 9 chevrons, they are still Ashigaru and are vulnerable to those morale shocks, and once the enemy starts getting all around you, we just see mass wavering here, and Indypride may have just cracked the nut here. This spear wall has been so formidable throughout this tournament, is going to get routed in this first matchup. Cavalry coming around on this side as well. The general's in stand to fight there for Indypride and has been for quite some time. And very well done. Perfect angle of attack. He just caught Tree of Arbor totally out of position. I don't know if Tree of Arbor was expecting an attack that soon maybe, and he wasn't able to get his forces turned and face that attack head on, which if you have that Yari Ashigaru spear wall, even with rank 9 troops, you have to face an attack head on, or this is going to happen. Indypride opening up those holes, just smashing through all of his forces in such a small part of the line will cause a big morale shock that'll just ripple its way down the length of the line. Very well done, attacking from the side, exactly what should be doing there. Unless you can manage to get around all the way to the back, but I doubt that would ever actually happen in a real game. Indypride are very clumped up here, which is good for the Katana Samurai being all clumped up like that. There's going to be a big hammer, as we've seen throughout this game. Just this katana hammer that nailed the side, just like a hammer and nail, pounding it in and crushing the line. Very well done here by Indypride, but Tree's not done yet, as the Boashigaru have rallied and are going to get some shots off, but the general is engaged with this Boashigaru spear wall down to 11 men. If he loses that general, that's going to be pretty much it, folks. Cavalry cleaning up the Boashigaru, not a bad choice there, as you don't want to have your men under missile attacks, but their morale is in the green. They're not in any danger of routing. The enemy is fleeing before them, and there's still plenty of friendlies around. Great Guard get a charge from behind there and just send a couple units routing, and just taking this out piecemeal. Very well done. That's the best attacks, take out the armies piece by piece, at least against these very formidable defensive armies like the Boashigaru spear wall. So Tree is making big mistakes in his, I guess you could say in his macro play there, by just not turning to meet that attack. It was put him in a terrible position to fight. And as we can see, Indypride is just going to clean this up with a very bold and brilliant attack. And there it is. All units have routed. Indypride takes game number 1 on his home turf. I'll see you back on the main menu. What a great attack there by Indypride. Chose the map. It was a good map choice to go up against this spear wall, which I'm sure he was anticipating that Tree would pull out, as he had so much success with it. That first series he had some room to experiment with, and even if he lost the series, he'd have this one to fall back on. But we knew that he would be coming back to this standard setup that he's been using throughout the tournament with so much success. But Indypride, what a convincing win there. I mean, we've seen 2 big setups. I mean, these are the standard setups for both of these players. Indypride just really convincingly won that one. Tree of Arbor is definitely on the back foot. Indypride was the underdog going into this one, having to win 2 series, but all of a sudden Tree is the underdog, being 1 game away from elimination, being knocked out of this tournament and giving Indypride the tournament win. And I know a lot of people have said that this build was pretty overpowered with the spear wall, but I kept saying it's all about how you engage it, and that's exactly how you engage it. Indypride coming from the side like that was just exactly where he wanted to be. Tree of Arbor making a big macro mistake, and just maybe he wasn't expecting the attack to come that soon. Maybe he was expecting Indypride to try and surround him or something, but just he didn't react to that coming up on the side. And as you can see, it was sort of like a hammer and nail. As the hammer hit the end of the nail there, the rest of it just sort of collapsed in, and the cavalry was able to find some holes. And just, I mean, that was an expert attack there by Indypride going up against that turtle shell army of the spear wall, and he's coming away with the win. Tree of Arbor is going to be picking the next map. He'll have a chance to bring this back and tie up the series, bring it down to 1 final game. We'll see where it goes. I will see you there. Thanks for watching.